Hi friends! I am so excited you're here today because I will be talking about all of the books I read in August. I ended up reading a ton of books in August. I didn't even realize it was happening. I think towards the end I started that new vlog, the Reading New Horror reading vlog, and I was just like pushing through so hard at the end, and I ended up reading 7 books for that vlog, and I think it was like in the last week or so of August. So yeah, I started out kind of slow and then I just went all the way. I went all the way with it. So as usual with my wrap-ups, the ones I did vlogs for, I believe I did 2 vlogs should be out. So I'm just kind of gonna glance over those. I'm not gonna go too in depth with those, but let's start out with The Bird Eater by Anya Alburn. This, I think I was trying to get it in my disturbing reading vlog I did, but I ended up, I think I read it like before I started it and then forgot about it. So, you know, as it happens, I would say this isn't disturbing either. So, I mean, there are definitely aspects. The reveal is disturbing, don't get me wrong. But as for Alburn's writing and stuff, these are just like kind of cozy to me now. I don't know why. Seed really scared me. That's the only one that like really got under my skin and scared me. And maybe like I Call Upon Thee, because that's a doll one. But yeah, I think I'm almost out of her books now and I'm kind of scared. But I think I ended up giving this one like 4 stars. I liked it, but it wasn't like super disturbing. It's about a guy going home to like his small town, and after like his aunt was murdered when he was a kid and stuff. So it's like a coming home story as well. And then getting into the disturbing reads now. Rotten Tommy by David Sodergren. You guys know I loved this from my vlog. This was one of my favorite reads of the month, and this year I gave it 5 stars. And then Depraved by Brian Smith. This was very, very zany and out there and campy, but I will say it's one of my favorite Brian Smith books, but I won't be reading part 2. There is a Depraved part 2 that I found. I won't be reading that. 3.5 stars for Depraved. A God in the Shed by J.F. Dubé. This was not disturbing to me at all. This was more of a fantasy horror read, and the title is the whole synopsis. But it definitely has those Stephen King vibes, like the small town vibes. But yeah, not scary and a little boring. So I think I gave it 3 stars in the vlog, but I think I'm more leaning towards a 2.5, round up to 3. And then Psychic Teenage Bloodbath by Carl John Lee. I really enjoyed this one too. It was a very mean Carrie retelling, and I loved it. So I think I'm giving this, I keep thinking about certain stuff in this actually. After my vlog, I was like, like in certain scenes, like, because I've had to be in like hospitals and stuff, and there's a part of it that like took place in a hospital, and I was like, oh god, okay. I was thinking about scenes in it, so it's effective for sure. So I think I'm leaning more towards like 4.5 for it now than a 4 star. And I read Along the River of Flesh by Christopher Triana. This is the sequel to Come to See the Riverman. Why do I always want to see? I always want to say Along for the first one too. Anyways, this was just okay for me. I wanted a little bit more from the other things hinted at in this, and I just didn't get it. So 3 stars. And then I read Wetbones by John Shirley. This one was another favorite of mine. I talked about it in the vlog. I gave it 5 stars. This is a body horror splatterpunk book from the 90s, and oh my gosh, it was just so disgusting and horrible, but the metaphor is so good in this. So yeah, 5 stars for Wetbones. Sounds like a song. Wet bones, wet bones. Is that a song? I don't know. Everything's a song with me, if you guys didn't know. I did Listen for the Lie by Amy Tatera. This is a thriller that a lot of people seem to enjoy. It was okay for me. I think I'm giving it 4 stars. It was just okay. I kind of guessed what was going to happen, but I kind of wish, so there's like a bit of a hint towards something else going on in this, and I was like on board for that. I could see why people really like this book because of that. I was just like, why didn't they do it? I know I'm the one that's like, just do it, just go through with it, like let's get it done. So I think I'm leaning towards 4 stars still, but I do wish it went in that other direction for sure that it alluded to. And then I read It Watches in the Dark by Jeff Strand. This is a middle grade book with an awesome cover. It's on Everand. Of course, I needed something to listen to while I played my hours and hours of Animal Crossing, and I said this is perfect because I'm a giant kid now playing Animal Crossing, and I really enjoyed this one. It is very funny though, and I didn't really feel the tension because I was like laughing at like the whole setup of it, but it's actually really serious, but you know me, I'm just like, this is hilarious. But I gave it 4 stars. Definitely worth the listen. I think it's a good Halloween read as well. There's a creepy scarecrow in it, and it's so creepy. It's great. And then I listened to We Used to Live Here by Marcus Killour. I really need to get my hands on a physical copy of this. This and Horror Movie I need my hands on, because apparently there's like cryptic codes and stuff in the physical copy. It's not in the audiobook, which I did on Everand, unfortunately, but I did really like it. It's based off of like a creepypasta, or I'm assuming it's based off of a creepypasta, but it's about this woman who is living with her partner, and they just move into this house, and she gets a knock on the door, and it's this dude and his family, and he's like, hey, I used to live here, is it okay if my family and I come in and look around? And your answer to that question is hell no, get the F off my property. Like, that would be I would be like, hell no. Or you want to come in and see all my Halloween, what I did with the house, because it is all Halloween. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's, you're screaming at the main character. You're like, do not let them in. Do not let them in. And then it's just like one psychological roller coaster after that, and then it gets like very trippy and weird and scary. But the ending, I wanted a little bit more from the ending, and I wanted a little bit more violence. I don't know. Like, I just needed a little bit more. It was very supernatural. So I get why there wasn't violence, but I was like, you know what? I would choose violence in this. So yeah, and I felt like the ending was just like ended. It could be open for a sequel, but I did really enjoy it, and I think I'm giving it 4.5 stars, but it's just the ending. I just wanted more from it. And then I read Butcher and Blackbird by Britton Weaver. Honestly, you guys, I read this for Garbagus. I did and I had the Libby loan, and I was hanging out with Lexi and Monica, and I was listening to this driving, and the maps was going in and out, and I was like, you know what, I need to listen to this, like, just driving home where I know where I'm going, because it kept interrupting in the very important smut parts. Yeah, I wanted a little bit more of the serial killer aspect of this. This is 2 serial killers falling in love. I do like that it wasn't insta love. Like, they both knew, like, they both caught feelings. They're like, okay, I'm catching feelings. But it spans over like 4 years, but it's only picking up in the year that they team up to, they have like a competition to go after somebody, and they're going after other serial killers. So it's kind of like a Dexter thing going on. I don't know. It was out there. There's a type of subgenre in thrillers, or in romance, I guess, thriller romances, that this is a thing, because I just read a similar book like this, and I was like, is this a thing? Like, is this a thing for people? They're like, okay. Yeah, I guess it's the Dexter romance thing, maybe. I don't know. it was okay. It was funny. It was hilarious. There is accidental cannibalism in this, and I laughed so hard during that part, and then it kept going. There's like a whole other thing about it, and I laughed so hard. So I did really enjoy it. I think I'm giving it 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I don't know if I'm gonna read the second one, but this was fun. I will say that. This was more fun than the other book that I read in the same premise. And then, so I'm going to briefly talk about these creeper books that I ended up reading for Garbogust. These are republished Creepers books from the 90s. So Creepers is kind of a spinoff of Goosebumps, but I believe it is British, and they have these awesome covers from the Dollar Tree. There's 10 altogether. I have all 10, but I only read 3 this month, and I will say I think my favorite one was the Scarecrow one. It was very creepy, but Pen Pals has the creepiest freaking is it this one or is it Scarecrow? There's one with a really creepy picture in it. I mean, like, they had like some creepy pictures in it. They're like almost like Scary Stories-esque pictures in this, and I was like, okay, if I was a kid, I totally get it. But yeah, of course I can't find any now. I'm like, I know I tagged them, but yeah, these were so fun to read like before going to bed. I was like, ooh, are they anything special? No. They're not, and they're not as good as Goosebumps for sure. They do like the same thing as Goosebumps, but they don't have as much atmosphere, I don't think. But yeah, they're like all 3 stars for me. I don't even know if I'm gonna rate them on Goodreads or anything, but like just something very easy to get through. Okay, so getting into my last reading vlog of August I did was reading new horror books or horror arcs. I read Stay on the Line by Kelly McLeod Chapman. This is a little novelette. It's like 47 pages, and it hit hard. It is, I think in that vlog I'm like, this is like a tough 47 pages. It's so emotional, but I really liked it. It is a bit predictable, but you're in it so much. You're like, I get it. I totally get it. I give it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And then I read The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson. Not a huge fan of this one. I think I gave it 2 stars because it just, the ending, the reveal, also like the pacing in it felt a bit off because it was a bunch of point of views, and yeah, there's so much cool stuff you can do with folk horror, and this one just did not do it for me. And I read The Night Guest by Hildur Nutsdottir. This is a New Zealand, it's not New Zealand, it's Icelandic. This is an Icelandic book translated, and it's a novella about this woman who is night walking. She is sleepwalking at night, and her watch is counting like all of her steps is like 40,000 steps a night. I'm not going to talk about this one too much. I don't in my vlog either, because I think you should go in as blind as possible, because the cover you might think one thing of it, but I will say I was surprised by this one, and I gave it 4 stars. I think it's like a great, it's great pink horror. Let's say that, because the cover is pink. I read The Drowning House by Sherry Priest. I really did enjoy this one, but it did feel a little slow at points for me. But it's like a mystery supernatural story. It had like those summer vibes in it too, which was kind of nice, like ending summer. And I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I read Such Lovely Skin by Tatiana Scoletti Bone, and I really enjoyed this one. This is a YA horror by Page Street Publishing Company. Published by Page Street Publishing Company, and this cover is so awesome. That's why I requested it on NetGalley, and it is dark. It is dark. I really like YA books that just go there, like with the themes. Little slow, but overall I really enjoyed it, and I love this concept too. Like, There's a horror movie called Cam Girl where this kind of concept comes into. It's like the shadow self, and I love that. Do very different things, don't get me wrong. Cam Girl is a very adult movie. This is a very YA book, but still dealing with like that theme of your shadow self, which I really liked. So I gave it 4 stars. And then one of my other favorite reads of August was Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch by Cody Crawley. I had so much fun with this book. Oh my gosh, it's a blast. It's a YA horror book from a debut author, and it's just fun. It has like great atmosphere. It's a revenge story. It's a supernatural ghost story. It's a Halloween story. And it was great, and I gave it 5 stars, and I highly suggest it. Then ending on kind of a low note for that vlog was Midnight Rooms by Danya Coles. I was so sad about this book because it's so slow, but it has this great like gothic setup, this gothic supernatural setup, but I was so sad about it. The writing was a lot too. It was like overly written for me personally. I think a lot of people are gonna love this if this is like your thing, but I was just like, let's get going. Also, this is not a YA horror. I thought it was YA because the cover is so good, and that can be confusing because YA horror has the best covers. This is not YA though. It gets pretty erotic, even though I think our main character is 18. She's still young. I would say it's more new adult, but it would be like erotic, and I would be like, what is happening? But yeah, the cover too is so good, and it also goes into what the story is about too. So I did enjoy that, but overall I was so sad that I didn't really like it and gave it 2 stars. But that is it for August. I'm probably missing a couple of books, but oh well. I actually think that was it. But let me know some of your favorite reads that you read in August, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye!